The moment the U-Haul ramp hit the pavement, the sirens wailed. 2 cruisers pulled up, their lights painting red and blue stripes across my lawn. Officers jumped out, hands hovering near their radios, confusion written across their faces. And there she was, Patricia Garrison, HOA president of Maple Ridge Estates, wielding her iPad like a weapon of war. Her voice cut through the afternoon air with practiced authority. He's fleeing in violation of Community Code Section 12-4. This is an unauthorized evacuation. The crowd of off-duty FBI trainees, yes, 30 of them, paused mid-hot dog at my farewell barbecue. One of them, a tall woman named Agent Rivera, raised her beer and said with genuine bewilderment, ma'am, who exactly do you think you're detaining? Patricia took a bold step forward, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing at the air. Everyone remain calm. I'm executing a community hold order under the authority vested in me by the Maple Ridge Homeowners Association. She should have walked away. She really should have walked away. I'm Daniel Morrison, 39 years old, and until today a resident of Maple Ridge Estates. It's one of those upscale HOA-run neighborhoods with charm, consistency, and more passive-aggressive lawn signs than you can count. I bought my place here after my divorce, thinking I needed quiet, order, and stability to rebuild my life. Instead, I got Patricia Garrison, HOA lifer, tyrant in designer yoga pants, and a woman who once fined a widow $300 for having a porch wind chime that, and I quote, mourns too loudly. She'd been president for 12 years, ruling our little corner of suburbia with an iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove of bureaucratic nonsense. My crime? I decided to move out peacefully, legally, on a Friday afternoon, with proper notice and all my HOA dues paid in full. Patricia didn't take that well. Not one bit. The trouble started the moment I posted my "For Sale by Owner" sign in the front yard. Within 2 hours, Patricia activated what she called Exit Protocol 14C. First came the certified mail, a deoccupancy intent form requiring 3 carbon copies and notarization. Then she demanded a $2,000 neighborhood exit rebranding fee, claiming my departure would damage property values. "You can't just leave," she'd said, cornering me at my mailbox one Tuesday morning. "There are procedures. There are protocols. This neighborhood has standards that must be maintained, even during transition periods." She clutched a leather-bound folder labeled Resident Departure Guidelines, version 9.3. The daily notes started next. She'd leave them tucked under my windshield wiper like parking tickets. Complaints about pavement trauma from my moving truck reservation. Concerns about aesthetic disruption during the transition period. One particularly memorable note accused me of emotional vandalism against the community spirit. I tried reasoning with her, showed her my closing documents, proof that the new buyers were pre-approved and eager to move in. She waved it away like I was showing her a child's crayon drawing. Pre-approval means nothing without HOA vetting. For all we know, they could be the type of people who leave their garbage cans out past 4 p.m. on collection day. My brother Jake, the FBI instructor, thought the whole thing was hilarious. "You've got yourself a certified Karen," he said over the phone one evening. "Want me to bring the class by for your going-away party?" Nothing scares control freaks like federal badges. I should have said no. I really should have said no. But after 3 weeks of Patricia's escalating harassment, the idea of seeing her face when 30 federal agents in training showed up for hamburgers was too good to pass up. Then she discovered the guest list for my goodbye barbecue, 30 FBI Academy trainees, all friends from my brother's bureau rotation class. He'd invited them as a favor, knowing I needed help with the heavy lifting. Patricia called it a suspicious gathering with acronyms and filed a formal complaint with the HOA board. The week before moving day, Patricia's behavior escalated from annoying to genuinely concerning. She started hosting emergency HOA meetings about the threat of transient residency. She created a neighborhood watch specifically for my street, claiming that moving trucks attracted criminal elements. She even distributed flyers with my photo and the caption, "Departing Resident Alert," to every house in a 3-block radius. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman who'd lived here for 30 years, knocked on my door one evening with tears in her eyes. "Patricia told me you were being evicted for running a drug operation," she whispered. I told her that was nonsense, that you're the nice young man who shovels my driveway in winter. But she said I was being naive. That's when I knew Patricia had gone too far. Harassing me was one thing, but frightening sweet Mrs. Chen was another. I called Jake that night. "Bring everyone," I said, "and make sure they know this isn't just a barbecue. This is a statement." On moving day, I caught her photographing my appliances as the movers loaded them into the truck. She stood there with her phone, snapping pictures of my refrigerator like it was evidence at a crime scene. When I asked what she was doing, she replied with a straight face that it was inventory logging for civic safety purposes. "Patricia," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "this is a Whirlpool refrigerator, not a weapon of mass destruction." She looked at me with a kind of disdain usually reserved for people who don't separate their recycling. "Everything in this neighborhood is a matter of civic safety, Mr. Morrison. Everything." Then she crossed the line. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "I need to report an unlicensed mass evacuation operation at 427 Maple Ridge Drive," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "The resident is removing classified items from the property. I have reason to believe he's harboring military operatives under assumed identities." Within minutes, the police rolled in. 2 units, 4 officers, all looking thoroughly confused by the scene before them. 30 people in FBI Academy t-shirts eating hamburgers while movers loaded furniture didn't exactly scream national security threat. Patricia stepped directly in front of the moving truck and raised both hands like she was directing traffic. "You're not leaving this neighborhood until you've been HOA cleared. I have documentation proving multiple violations." That's when Special Agent in Training Sandra Coleman calmly walked up, flipped open her badge, and spoke in the kind of measured tone they must teach in de-escalation classes. "Ma'am, if you interfere with a lawful residence change again, we will treat it as false reporting and obstruction. Please step away from the vehicle." Patricia's face went through several shades of red before settling on something approaching purple. "You can't do that. I have jurisdictional authority here." Another trainee, a stocky guy everyone called Tank, chimed in from beside the grill. "Want to bet? This is private property." Patricia shrieked, waving her iPad like it was a badge of authority. "You people have no right to be here without HOA approval. I'll have you all arrested for trespassing." Agent Coleman remained impossibly calm. "Ma'am, we're here as invited guests of the property owner. That's perfectly legal. What's not legal is filing false police reports about military operatives and classified materials. Would you like to explain to these officers why you made those claims?" The lead officer, a veteran cop named Sergeant Davis, who looked like he'd seen every kind of crazy our suburb could produce, stepped forward. "Mrs. Garrison, we've responded to 6 calls from you this month." 6. The midnight noise complaint about wind chimes. The suspicious vehicle that turned out to be an Amazon delivery. The terrorist threat that was actually a food truck. And now this. The officers began questioning Patricia while the rest of us watched in stunned silence. She produced her iPad, frantically swiping through what she called her evidence files. Photos of my moving boxes, screenshots of the truck rental confirmation, a spreadsheet documenting what she termed suspicious barbecue attendance patterns. After 20 minutes of this, the lead officer had heard enough. He wrote Patricia 3 citations, one for obstructing a residential street, another for unlawful interference with lawful activity, and the third, most damaging, for misuse of emergency services. The fines totaled $850. But the real consequences were just beginning. Within 24 hours, the HOA board received a formal complaint signed by 28 of the 30 FBI trainees. They described Patricia as combatively unhinged and a threat to reasonable community governance. One trainee simply wrote, "Karen level 10, in the comments section. The complaint was accompanied by something even more damaging. A legal brief prepared by 3 of the trainees who happened to be former attorneys. They outlined 17 different violations of state and federal law Patricia had committed in her role as HOA president, including harassment, defamation, and abuse of process. The brief was 47 pages long, with footnotes. Margaret Sullivan later told me she'd never seen anything like it. We'd been trying to get rid of Patricia for years, she said, but she always had just enough support to cling to power. Your FBI friends gave us the ammunition we needed." That legal brief was like Christmas morning. An emergency board meeting was called for that evening. Patricia arrived with a briefcase full of binders, ready to defend her actions. She'd even hired a lawyer, some poor soul named Brendan Walsh, who specialized in property disputes and looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The meeting was held in the community center, a beige box of a building that smelled perpetually of coffee and disappointment. But that night, it was packed. Word had spread about the FBI incident, and everyone wanted to see Patricia's downfall in person. She didn't get the chance to present her defense. The board had already voted 5-0 for immediate removal. Her HOA login was revoked on the spot. Her laminated president badge was removed physically by Margaret Sullivan, her longtime nemesis on the board who'd been waiting years for this moment. At the next HOA meeting, now open to the public thanks to the new transparency rules, Patricia tried one last desperate defense. She'd brought a PowerPoint presentation. Slide 1 showed a blurry photo of me holding a crockpot. Slide 2 asked in 72-point font, "What are they cooking?" The audience erupted in laughter. Someone in the back shouted, "Chili, probably." Then FBI trainee number 7 stood up and delivered a dramatic reading of the HOA's own bylaws, none of which supported anything Patricia had done. He read for 15 minutes, highlighting every violation of procedure, every overreach of authority, every abuse of power. By the time he finished, Patricia's lawyer was already packing up his briefcase. She stormed out to her golf cart, her primary mode of HOA presidential transportation, only to discover it had been booted by community maintenance. The citation taped to the windshield read, "Parking on private discontent." The irony was absolutely immaculate. But the story doesn't end with simple embarrassment. The district attorney's office, after reviewing the 911 recording, decided to pursue charges for filing a false police report. Patricia's claim about military operatives and classified items crossed the line from annoying to criminal. The trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. 30 FBI trainees make excellent witnesses. It turns out they testified with precision about the events of that day, each one adding another nail to the coffin of Patricia's defense. The judge's ruling came down hard, guilty on one count of filing a false police report, guilty on one count of misuse of emergency services. The sentence, 6 months probation, 40 hours of community service, specifically not in any HOA capacity, and a $5,000 fine. Patricia's face went white as the judge read the verdict. Her hands shook as she gripped the defendant's table.